Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we're doing some more ProQuest prep. So we gotten some pretty good games into Aurora and Assassin. I'm still kind of working on the board for this deck. So what I'm actually doing right now is if y'all don't know, I'm maintaining this list, which is my public list, and then a separate list, which is my private list. So I'm testing a bunch of things out in my private list. Definitely a lot of spicier cards in my private list. I'm still kind of trying to clean up the deck list a little bit and kind of like get to a point where I'm kind of happy with it. But it's very similar in terms of like ratios to this deck list. So let's go ahead and play this deck list today. So basically, like the core ratios and a lot of the ideas are the same, but there's definitely like some spicy includes I'm basically testing. And yeah, this is basically the same deck as normal. I think for this deck, what I've done is I've basically taken out the quick dodge flexors. I've been talking to a couple different Zen experts at this point who have kind of like I'm trying to figure out like what quick dodge, like what the purpose is, and I feel like the conclusion that I've arrived at is it's not really even Aurora tech. It's more so just for like matchups that someone phrased it kind of well is like matchups you're already winning anyways, which is definitely interesting. I feel like I got that sentiment from a couple other players I talked to. So I think that's probably a good way to kind of describe like how I feel about quick dodge is like it's kind of like a clunky card that does help you in some matchups that you're already favored in, but like in other matchups it's like kind of whatever. Yeah, so we're gonna basically just kind of run without quick dodge today, see how it feels. And yeah, notably, I think I've changed back and forth between like the Flick package and the wax on wax off package. I think that like there's very close percentage between like blue flicks and like the wax on wax off stuff. I think that they're both kind of reasonable. I'm gonna try today to run just like four wax, three wax offs, and see if we can kind of get it to line up. I might even up this by one. The problem with upping it by one is like the 8 react seems like a little bit much, so I might like trim on a flick or something like that. It definitely seems like there's maybe like some ratio here that is pretty good. I think like 6 wax ons is pretty reasonable, but I do like having the 4 block react sometimes. In this sideboard, I've also included a snag just because I think that we're struggling a little bit for blue count on this deck. Let me actually take a look at the new matchup. So we're at 29 blues with the snag, which feels about right. Boarding out like the Wind Chakra and 100 Winds and stuff. The Wax On probably should be in there, but it's hard to kind of maintain matchups for 2 different decks. But yeah, I think this is kind of going to be the rough idea for today. Again, nothing like super groundbreaking in terms of changes for today, but just kind of tweaking some ratios, fixing some sideboard stuff, and yeah, kind of just iterating on a deck. I think the process is sometimes kind of interesting to watch, like how I'll tweak a deck. It definitely feels like you basically make like minor improvements and then you kind of just test it, and then if you don't like it, you revert back, that kind of thing. Yeah, so let's go ahead and grab some games. All right, so we got Thor playing some Kayo. Thor, if you don't know, is a local. I'll give them a good look. Have fun. So maybe they're testing for some ProQuest stuff. I know they're coming up here for the Denver SCG con, but let's see what's going on. So I'm gonna board out some 2 blocks here, and then Weakest Link's like okay in the KO, surprisingly. I think I'll just board out a bunch of 2 blocks and then kind of call it a day. I think like CNC is also kind of weak. Honestly, maybe taking out the CNC and like boarding in like 100 wins, this probably makes more sense. Let's give it a shot like this. This is a matchup I definitely like to flex into. We are having to main deck wax off, which just feel a little bit bad. I wonder if we are supposed to pour them out in this matchup. All right, starting out with the Cat's Bones. Also, I don't know if you all saw, but we got a cat here. All right, so he's here to help. Hello, bud. All right, let's start with good old Ancestral Harmony. Hit off the top, never miss it. All right, and then let's go ahead. Rising Sun. Flick is pretty good for next turn. Do kind of like flick into whatever they're doing. They could also just have like CNC, in which case we probably do want to like maybe go off an Arsenal, because we're probably not going to be able to block CNC anyways. So maybe we'll save the flick for now and just try to send the full hand. Actually, hold on. I was thinking we could get Key Unleashed, but we hit the swipe, so we can't unfortunately use that. Can't unfortunately use that anymore. So maybe we are getting rid of this and just getting a 1 cost and then arsenaling flick. I think that makes more sense because I was thinking about like we're going to be able to use like the 2 floating there, but I don't think there's really a clean way to do it. So let's go ahead and grab a 1 cost. Let's start with, I guess, what do we want to get? I guess Mauling's like fine. We'll lead off on Tiger, just a player on Scowling. Because I almost imagined he never Scowlings this, right? Seems pretty low value. And we'll start with a swipe. I could see him scaling this, and then we get like 50-50 punished. It's definitely interesting to think about. But always feels pretty nice to hit off Ancestral. And yeah, it seems like he's gonna just cash in some armor here. Makes sense. So I think on our turn we're just gonna go ahead and Arsenal Flick. Hope that it's not CNC. It's kind of the main goal. All right, Blood Rush we can deal with because very likely it's not going to be It's not going to be like CNC into something, so we'll be able to use our Flick. We actually have 2 Flicks, which is kind of okay. I mean, it's something amazing, right? What we could do is we can like Flick, block Hunter Winds, wax, do some other stuff. It's kind of cool. Do we want to wax? Or I guess we shouldn't wax now. We should wax whatever the next thing is, right? Yeah. All right, scabbing it up. Nice hit. All right, let's see what he's got cooking here. So 2 action points, definitely pretty good on the old Blood Rush turn. I think we'll go ahead and just cash in our block here. Then we can kind of just get 0 for 5 Tiger Swipe and Arsenal to Flick again. Kind of okay with that. Do slightly regret leaving the wax on in, but they're not like terrible here, honestly. Just take a defensive turn here. Ooh, another Cast Bones is nasty. All right. Well, we will suffer in silence over here. Ooh, yeah, that was a full hit on the mites too. So I think he already had a mite developed, which is pretty neat, but definitely a scary set of turns. All right, let's go ahead and grab the swipe. Now, I'm hoping he doesn't lead off on CNC for 13, but this is a pretty nasty start. All right, go ahead and Arsenal pass. And we are probably due for some hurt in here. All right, coming in with Bear Fangs for 14. Nice and fair. I think we're still just going to play out the Flick Flack just so that we can get our Arsenal in case it's CNC. We might end up blocking 4 with 100 wins. It's probably correct, right? 4 versus 3 value. Assuming we get the opportunity to. Which we should. We can do like full modes on levels next turn, which is also quite nice. I think we might want to get something that doesn't care about getting banished. Like if the tiger gets banished from hand, we probably want to just like get something to play around fleshback a little bit. All right, Wild Ride coming in as well. So I think Weakest Link is like the scariest card here. For sure. They also have Claw or Thora's Claw available to him as well. So if this is 3, we obviously lose the 1 value here. But if it's not 3, then we're fine. Or if it's like Weakest Link, if it's Weakest Link, then I want to block like Hunter Winds Traverse. If it's not Weakest Link, then I don't care. So I think we'll play around Weakest Link, and if we lose a point of value because he just decides to claw, then I think we're maybe fine. Okay, so we might be losing a point of value, but that's okay, I think. As long as it's not another Cast Bones to end it on, that'd be kind of disgusting. All right, no Cast Bones? All right, good. Finally get a break from the Cast Bones and the Blood Rush here. All right, let's go ahead and do our big boy levels. I think we're just grabbing a 1 cost here. We probably also should have blocked with Pouncing Paws maybe if we wanted to just go for like a chase. I think it's pretty reasonable. But I guess our Tiger get banished, so it's still like not great. Let's just grab Mauling here, I think. We'll do Drago. All right, this is kind of fine. So we can do 3-2-1-5. Alternatively, we can do E-Strike into 2-5. Both are kind of fine. I think going off an Arsenal is like also okay. Definitely still 50-50 on the flashback here. Ooh, this could be a pretty good flashback. I'm hoping the E-Strike gets banished. All right, yes, that's very good for us. Because if we get stranded with E-Strike in hand, it's like really bad. So definitely got a little bit lucky there. Definitely needed a little bit of luck to go our way this game, I think. All right, coming for 6, or functionally 6. All right, he is going to have an agility this turn. Clash of Agility, pretty nice card. All right, revealing drop on top, Bear Fangs. So this doesn't put it in the bottom, right? That's Victor. Yeah, so this just stays on top, so we get Transcend next turn. Kind of okay with that. That being said, they are going to have a very scary turn. At least you get E-Strike, I guess, which is not bad. Flex are definitely pretty okay this game, though. Feels like they've been kind of like keeping us alive for sure. So what's our play next turn? We don't have Fleshback to worry about, which is kind of nice. Probably going to be like Flick into block Pouncing Key. I'm assuming what's going to happen is it's going to be like something to CNC. I'm always kind of playing around CNC. Send Packing, also another threat we have to consider. The Cat, another threat we have to consider. Big stretch. Oh, big stretch. Wow, it's so weird he's doing that by himself. All right. Bear Fangs coming in. Yep. I think we will just flick-flack this. Because it does feel like there's something after this. I think he's overpitching the cast bones just so that he's not like accidentally discarding it to Bear Fangs, which does make sense. So I think we will probably still just flick this. I'm assuming he has like some follow-up here. All right, if there's no follow-up, what do we do? Do we care, I guess is the question. Maybe we just block with Pouncing Paws and then save our Traverse for a turn that we actually need it, because we already have Transcend, so we don't really need second Transcend. I think that's kind of reasonable. So what are we getting off our Transcend? We get Biting Breeze. Biting Breeze is not going to hit. I'm assuming he's going to block with Sash. Then I can drop afterwards. We can get like Key Unleashed if we really want to. All right, the cat has left us, unfortunately. The cat left us when we needed him the most. All right, coming in for 9. Or I guess we go to 9. I think that's still acceptable. So we don't have to worry about the last Cast Bones, which is good. Cast Bones definitely a very scary card, though. All right, let's go ahead and start with the biting. I'm assuming this just eats Sash, but it could also not eat Sash. Sash is pretty good. Yeah, he might not give it to us, which does make sense. So in that case, I guess we're just getting Swipe and then bottoming Tiger for E-Strike. Seems, or not Swipe, we're getting a Chase rather. Or no, we can't get Chase, right? We can get Chase, but it's like awkward. So let's go ahead and drop here. Let's drop, I guess, our Tiger. Gain a resource, and then still activates on. It's definitely a little awkward here, because now we like still probably end up getting chased, but then we can't use our, I guess we can still use our E-Strike if we want to use Pouncing Paws here. I feel like it's pretty safe to use Pouncing Paws if we already have the Tiger, or if we already have Traverse live. That seems maybe okay. All right, so we're doing draw, or are we doing buff? I think draw is pretty good. Drawing a Chase Tail is pretty good. We'll definitely take that. Ooh, and this hand is very, very nice. We can even play this Chase out without getting Chi. All right, it's coming in for 9. We do have to play around Swing Big, notably. Or not Swing Big, sorry. Swing Big is the card. We have to play around Reckless Swing. All the Brute cards do kind of sound the same. All right, if Thor's running the Pummel, then he wins. But if he's not gaming, then we don't. Then we probably win ourselves. All right, and then we'll do our nice little disgusting levels transcend. Grabbing Key Unleashed, honestly, probably. Seems pretty good. Do draw go. And yeah, it seems like we kind of got this game unlocked from here. Thor definitely had some brutal turns, though. I will give him that. I think the CNCs were definitely like a little bit lacking this game. But like otherwise, I think he drew quite well. Zen be doing Zen things though. Just trying to LL this hero. Alright, Sin Packing plus Sash makes sense. Might be able to kill him with Grain here, although I doubt that that's going to matter. I guess it could be like Reckless and Arsenal. Sorry, was that? Oh, we still need to play the Tiger. Oh yeah, there's no way that we lose here, right? Seems good. Yeah, so Bear Fangs and then Savage Cheese. Let's see if he was on the Reckless. GG's, Thor. Let's see. Any Recklesses here? No Recklesses, but the Cast Bones were like super good that game. Very, very solid includes, I think. I wonder if this is your backup deck for in case like you don't want to play Marionette, but it's still definitely like a pretty solid deck. I think that you have a lot of stuff that like makes KO like very consistent, but you do have like the Cast Bones to like the Cast Bones can whiff, but like you're running probably about as many whiffs as like a normal KO deck, so it seems kind of fine. Red and yellow Clash of Agilities also kind of make a lot of sense for just like hand smoothing. All right, Thor, well, thanks for the game. See you on YouTube, and yeah, we'll go ahead and try to get another. All right, got a Fang. Don't really have a Fang board yet. What do we want to Fang? Probably not our wax on, wax offs, but we do probably want our flicks. And then Key Unleash is pretty alright. I think Crown, like Command Conquer, is like pretty bad into Fang generally. They normally run Crown anyway, so it doesn't like really feel impactful. I feel like just running maybe an extra blue in the Cosmic is like fine. I think the rest of it seems good. Notably with Snag, I think a lot of people make this mistake in a Warrior, is that it only applies to attack action cards, which Fang does not run a ton of. So I think I'll run it like this, see how it goes. I've definitely done that before into like Dory, though. Seems like a much better card than it ends up being, but it's still like a pretty good card. It's actually a pretty good hand for turn 1. Doesn't block incredibly well, so I'm almost hoping they pass here. But if they don't pass, it's still like kind of acceptable. We can like block 2 on the first thing, block 3 on the second thing. It's kind of fine. I think if they just pump into this one and they don't swing again, then we're fine keeping levels. So I think if we take a little extra damage here, I think it's probably okay. And this could also just be Tooth or whatever, and in which case we look pretty smart for blocking like this. All right, 2 damage is fine. 2 damage is a very worthwhile trade. Curious to see if they'll actually make some bigger here. I'm just going to go for the tip-off. That also makes sense to me. Ooh, for the Drakai. Pretty spicy. So I'm going to start with 2 Fealty, which is kind of gross, but they are off in Arsenal, which is at least nice. So I guess we will just like cover it with the levels. I think taking like 4 is probably not worth keeping levels, or taking like 3 rather. So I think we'll take 3 here. It's not actually that bad, and then we'll probably be set for Transcending, assuming we can draw like another blue here. All right, we do draw another blue, but it's not like a crazy good one. So what's our play? There's a greedy part of me that almost wants to pop Pouncing Paws just so we can space out our Transcends, but I don't know if that's actually correct. Feels maybe a little bit wrong. I also wonder if I should have just thrown it in front of there. Because it would have prevented the on-hit, which is definitely like semi-relevant. That might have been like a minor misplay, but we'll continue onwards. I think I will actually take the opportunity to use Pouncing Paws here. It's kind of weird, but I kind of like it because I do like. I feel like the way I win against Fang a lot of the time is by spacing out Transcend cards as opposed to just like dumping them all and then hoping like redraw into them. I think this is kind of okay. We knew 3-1-5 Arsenal Stir set up for a big turn next turn. It's not like we really have any on hits to necessarily worry about with Fang. So I think we're just going to do this. Notably with Fang, I think that Fangs have kind of figured out what you're supposed to kind of do in this matchup, which is basically just to block as much as possible and then like save like 1 card to basically enable your swing. I guess we'll go ahead and banish like 4 Draco. I don't think it really matters here. We'll save Stir so that we can like Stir next turn is my idea. because that will basically get us the guaranteed shuffle, right? So go ahead and send 5 here. But yeah, one of the ways that like Fangs have figured out this matchup is they basically just block as much as possible after they get to max fealty, right? They block as much as possible after they get to that point, and then they're basically just trying to like send like 1 card 7 or 1 card 8, right? I feel like that's a lot of time what I see them do. All right, so this is a pretty good hand as well. We have obviously levels plus Transcend, plus E-Strike, plus Sound the Alarm. All pretty good things. I think we're just gonna no blocks this turn. If they have like Mark or whatever, we don't really care. All right, Tooth is fine. Tooth is one of those cards that does like enable the 2-card Transcend hands, kind of, or the 2-card Dagger hands. So actually, now that they've scarred and marked us, it might actually be correct to throw, or actually, I guess it's probably not correct to throw that in front. We could actually like block 4 on this, and then they'll have to spend another turn, but they already had the vigor, so I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. I think we're basically accepting that they're at 3 fealty at this point, which I think makes sense. And then we can maybe get like Underwinds or something, and then just bottom to E-Strike to like do buff, or we can also bottom to Sound the Alarm. I think both are kind of reasonable. Let's go ahead and pass here. I think we're definitely looking to use Traverse next turn to kind of shuffle. So let's do Stir the Pot, Preserve. Preserve back levels, I guess, is a pretty good threat. We already have an extra Mullen key, so I don't think that's super important. And then we'll start with Kakara here, I think. We can also keep the Tiger and E-Strike the Sound the Alarm, or like E-Strike the Chi. I think both are reasonable. I guess E-Strike Chi doesn't make sense because we need it for the extra blue, right? I guess we're still doing Drago, and then we'll see what we draw into. So if we want to strike the Tiger, or E-Strike the Tiger back in the deck, we definitely want to not get something that's reliant on a Tiger. In which case, what would that be? We could get Aspect is not reliant because we have the E-Strike, right? So that's one option. Kind of like the idea of getting Aspect, but Key Unleash could also be powerful if we just bottom the Sound. So it's like 12 damage versus, that'd be 13 damage. I guess Aspect is better. All right, do Drago. All right, draw into Breed. Does that change the damage math at all? It makes it better. So I think we will just go for E-Strike. Then we do Aspect, Breed, Sound with Tigers in between. I think that's still acceptable. They definitely got to 3 fealty like very, very fast. I'm a little bit scared this game. We should also probably turn off our priority. All right, so let's grab that Aspect. Haven't really gotten the opportunity to really resolve any Chase the Tails this game, which is definitely awkward. We do have a lot of Chi that's going to be flowing in the deck, and we have the ability to shuffle 3 of it away, which is quite nice. Also get a Shukra trigger here, so we're sending 5 and another 5. I think the turn's pretty efficient. It just does feel like you're kind of swinging against a brick wall against Fang sometimes. It's definitely kind of scary for that reason. Also, I think they're fat decking slightly, which is interesting. Are they? Yeah, I think they are. Maybe didn't notice that at the start of the game. All right, we'll get a peek at that hand. So Fire and Brimstone, Long Whisker, and Scar Tissue. So what was the hand again? It was Long Whisker, Fire and Brimstone, Scar Tissue. So what do they do in the next turn? They have a Vigor, so they can like pop Vigor, Mark. If they're relying on Mark, we should tutor for a flick. Because otherwise their hand maybe doesn't work incredibly well. So they have Fire and Brimstone, and they have the Long Whisker, I guess. So they can like swing dagger. How much does Brimstone cost? It's a 2 cost. So they could do that as well. It's not super efficient to do that. All right, so pretty good hand here. So this does play Chase the Tail, and then we can also like flick something. The problem is we don't really have like a second half to the flick. but it's maybe okay. So you can do Incant, Grain, Chase, Aspect, Arsenal Flick, or whatever. I think that's fine. This is probably Long Whisker. So additional attack. Huh. Why additional attack? They have Brimstone, obviously, right? Yeah, I think they probably want to do plus or mark or something, right? Yeah, buff, I think, makes more sense to me. So they might just be setting up this turn. So they could just like pass here, or like they could like dagger pass. They could also play the Fire and Brimstone, but it's not like incredible here. It's like fine. They get like 5 damage or whatever. Nothing really to write home about. I think we're just going to pass here and try to get max value and reflect later. Because there's no on hit here. I don't think we care. I guess the on hit is if they get to use Brave Forge, but that's not even that big of a deal, I feel like. That's fine. Yeah, I think we're just saying no blocks to this, and we're just going to play out our hand because it's pretty decent. So they're going to say Brimstone for next turn, which just makes sense. And then we'll go ahead and just do our chase line. Still really like Incant deck. That's kind of the card I've been most impressed with recently. It's just been a really solid blocking card that also kind of unbricks some hands. Big fan. All right, go ahead and buff that tiger, get a resource, then play out our favorite line. All right, we got the first chase still down. Hopefully we can get the other two out of the deck. This is definitely also part of the kind of win condition here is developing out chases. All right, close the chain, Arsenal Flick. Pretty good. So this is another hand that just like auto transcends, which is kind of okay, but kind of like scary, especially if they have like a Fire and Brimstone turn. I'm almost debating if I should actually set up a Zen State here. That might be worth it, honestly. If we set up a Zen State and then block Traverse, how much damage can they deal? Definitely feels like that might actually get a decent amount of value out of them. Let's try it here. I'm definitely a little bit suspect of it, but I think it could actually be good. All right, so we'll go ahead and pass on this. Brain Trigger, we'll see what they do, I guess. And then we can crack a Zen State in response to this. And we can just like reblock with it. Like, I know they have Fire and Brimstone, so that's why I'm doing this. If they didn't have Fire and Brimstone, I probably wouldn't care. So they're almost certainly going to try to go for something here. So let's go ahead and block with Traverse now. I'm assuming this is going to get at least pumped by 3. All right, so there's the Fire. So we'll get the 1 value from the Zen State here. And then there's Flurry as well. Sure, so I think we're okay with this. This might be the first time Zen State's been actually kind of good against Fang. This also seems like a decent opportunity for flicking. You can also just not flick, and you just get like a 1 or like a 1 cost here. I think both are reasonable. Kind of want to save the drop as well, so I think we might just be flicking something this chain. All right, another Blade Flurry into that. So you have to swing with the dagger one more time. Sure, we'll use the flick to cover some of this, I think. All right, the follow-up is just 4, which is just 3. So I think we're going to keep this hand. I think we're going to keep the blue, or like we're going to pitch this, get a 1 cost, probably breed. We have breed, right? I think we should have a breed. And then we'll just send the Key Unleash. I think that seems reasonable. All right, so let's go ahead and tutor and make sure we have that breed just before we commit to our turn. Oh, we do not have a breed. Okay, this is me fucking up my sideboard. That's fine still, though. We could just get Chase and then go for that instead. It's definitely more awkward. Still fine. Yeah, maybe that was a little bit of a punt, but that's okay. We can do 3. We can also do 3, 1, 2, or 3, 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah, definitely was relying on that breed for this to kind of make sense in terms of efficiency. Sorry, I'm kind of tanking here. Let's get the 100 wins, I guess, then. Yeah, I think it's probably still fine. Do 3, 1, 7, Arsenal a drop for next turn, I think is okay. Seems like they're maybe incentivized to block out this turn, so I still want to hold on to Transcend, though. Definitely does put a little bit of a damper in our plans, though. I could have sworn I had 2 breeds in this deck, but I might have just left one in the sideboard. Do I actually have one? Let me look. I might have cut the second one. Okay, that makes sense. I definitely oftentimes find myself missing the second breed. I was in my list at one point for sure. All right, so this hand should get there as long as they don't like double hunt send me or something. But we saw them pitch one earlier, so I don't think that's likely. All right, Searing Gaze is fine. Zen State actually did, I think, a reasonable amount of work. It's like a couple points of value. So hunt send is pumps this to 6, so it goes to 5, so we don't care. We just send the whole hand. We should be good here. All right, somehow managed to hunt my way to a victory, but that's okay. That's what we normally do. Okay, and we just hit off aspects, so it doesn't matter. Let's, I guess, go for levels. I guess we Kakar, no. What's the most efficient way to do this? I guess we have to levels first, right? Because we can't levels afterwards. All right, grab that chase. Draw go. Just making sure I don't mess this up. All right, blue is fine here. We can just pitch it to Kakara. All right, go ahead and send it in. Wonder if we needed that aspect to win here. We might not have. Let's see if we didn't need it. We might have needed it, honestly. But yeah, the Fangs have definitely been getting a lot better at piloting this matchup, I will say that for sure. I think our opponents definitely no exception. Do we at least get to send 4/4/4 here, which is nice, but it might not even get the job done. All right, lots of reacts at this point. Still, I got like a pretty decent life lead though, so maybe we're still kind of in the clear. But definitely not like the Fang Games have been getting closer and closer to like total me just going there. All right, let's do a quick rematch and see if maybe I can pilot this one a little bit better. Do think it's probably worth practicing in the Fang, even though I do think the matchup is Zen favored. All right, coming in for this. I think we're gonna just go ahead and filter a little bit here. Block with the two blocks, and then just try to get some value there. All right, Sigil makes sense, so I'm kind of fine with that, honestly. Just get deeper towards Transcend. And this is basically like the same hand, right? We get to send 3, 2, 5, and then Arsenal a Transcend starter. Would have liked to get a little bit deeper in the deck, but it's still kind of okay. All right, Loyalty, definitely a very solid card in this matchup is what I found. A lot of the reacts end up being really good because like I said, Fang can basically just like block out until they find 3 fealty, and then they can just start sending 1-card hands at you pretty easily. All right, seems like they're gonna maybe just block out and take a reset turn. Kind of makes sense. All right, so unfortunately this hand doesn't really chase the tail, but it still kind of works. It's just awkward. Let's start with Kakara and maybe see if they throw the Dynamo in front of it, because in that case we could obviously get the breed value, which is nice. We might honestly be popping Pouncing Paws here. We could also like not care about Transcend Starter in Arsenal, but it definitely gets a little risky. All right, seems like our opponent knows to block that. So now we're IPing ourselves here if we don't do this. I wonder if this was actually not the play. Because now we're like forced to use Pouncing Paws here, which is not like great. Could also play the 100 wins and then play the chase and Arsenal swipe. Maybe that's better. I think that's the best pivot here because I don't really want to like use Pouncing Paws. I don't really know what my plan was. I probably didn't think that through all the way. Still seems okay though. All right, still no Transcend. A little unfortunate, but we can survive, I think. I think this hand's going to be just like mauling Flick, block with Mauling, E-Strike on our turn. Hope to find something a little bit better. Should be pretty decent. All right, not getting the fealty is very nice for us. I think we're just going to use our Flick here to cover damage pretty efficiently. Makes our blocks pretty good. And then I think, are we giving up the... So that's actually our last Mauling too, which is definitely unfortunate. Maybe we are giving up the Breed instead. Right, so they're going to get the fealty off that one, makes sense. And then Scar Tissue on the other one also makes sense. This is fine. So they get their first fealty and then Mark, which is functionally just another fealty. Oh, and they're going to get like fully online here. So we have the option now to either just block. What if we block 4, just send Tiger Swipe on our turn just to get our Arsenal and then Arsenal the E-Strike? I think that taking them off the fealty per turn does kind of make sense. It's not great. But making them pay for stuff is definitely still good anyways. Still really inefficient though. Wonder if getting the +3 value here is worth it. I feel like Pouncing Paws can often do a lot more than that. So I think we're just holding out for Transcend. Unfortunately, it looks like their fealty is a little bit faster than our Transcend here. So I think what we've seen that we've been through roughly 4 hands at this point. We haven't seen our Transcend. So I think we're definitely in one of the kind of like Zen low rolls that you sometimes see. I'm curious if Tegan can actually go back and watch this and separate each turn and tell me like how many cards I've drawn up until this point. All right, we found our Transcend, so we can stop complaining at least. But definitely feels like a little bit late on the Transcend. All right, there's the fealty, so it didn't really matter if they hit the mark office anyways. We do get to play Chase the Tail out, albeit it's a little bit inefficient, but we'll still make the best of it here. I think we're still tutoring Aspect just so we can like bottom Tiger to E-Strike and then just cycle towards Transcend faster. Because again, transcending both early and often is kind of the important thing in this matchup. We haven't done the early part yet, but let's try to do the often part if we can. All right, gain a resource. Still, we're going to go grab Aspect, and we're going to use that Redundant Tiger to, I think, whoops, sorry, wrong card there. We're going to use that Redundant Tiger to go get Aspect, or to use to E-Strike, rather. Okay, so coming in for 0 here, which is unfortunate. I don't think there's actually a way we could have sequenced that better, right? Because it has to come in to make the extra Tiger. It's still more damage this way, right? But definitely feels weird to like lose out on some value there. It's crazy that drop is still like as good as it is, even though it like sometimes just does like anti-synergize like very heavily with the deck. It's still like, would you run a drop in the ocean that said like -2? I think you probably would, right? Just have one more Transcend card. And like -2 is sometimes even good. Like, what if it was -2 to your own attack? That'd be kind of interesting. Be cool to like see a Transcend card that's just like a strict downside. All right, 3 and 5 here, draw a card. Hopefully, we should be pretty live for draws because we don't have HE in the deck at this point. So this should be a real card. And E-Strike drawing E-Strike, I think, is acceptable here. So maybe going to be looking to use Traverse depending on what our hand is next turn. If we have Chi, probably not. All right, this is probably not going to be Traverse turn, but should still be a really good turn. All right, there's Tooth, which is another one of those basically one or two card hands that's really, really solid in Fang. So this is what, a 3-card 10 or something? More than that? Maybe more than that. Depends what this card is, but basically on paper it's a 3-card 10 right now. Or no, it's a 2-card 10 rather. Because they only use those 2 cards. This is a pretty good high. That's a very high value turn. I don't know exactly how many points of value they got, but definitely seems to be a decent amount. All right, let's go for. Actually, hold on. Let me think about this. Do we want to win Chakra and levels at the end? I don't think that makes a ton of sense, right? No, I think we'd just rather get the draw go. I don't think it makes sense to get like the +3 here. We could just get the extra card draw here. Like the sequencing becomes, I think, really awkward. And then what are we getting here? We could just grab Chase and then just use our Pouncing Paws. It is our last Chase the Tail, which does make sense. Yeah, let's just use up our last Chase. I think that's fine. And we can just E-Strike whatever we draw, or we E-Strike the Pouncing Key or whatever. Or we E-Strike the E-Strike. All those I think are acceptable. We still have the unbrick potential with the Traverse, so using the Tiger here is like kind of fine. We do have to remember that there's not another Chase in the deck, which means like Key Unleashed is probably our like best threat, maybe. Do we have any Maulings left? We've also used the Maulings and the Breed, so we don't have any one cost left. A little bit unfortunate. So we have Shuffled. I guess the question is, are we drawing off E-Strike? I think we still are. And there's Sync. Makes sense. We also got a ton of armor left. Yeah, we are definitely not in the clear this game. I think we were just like a little bit late to Transcend. I think above average in terms of how late we were. All right, let's get that. Pounce a Key online. So they're going to keep a one card Fang hand. So, like, best case scenario, it's like Tooth and Claw or something. Sigils are also pretty good just to use extra fealty to get go again. All right, draw a card. All right, Transcend, excellent. One of the better draws, I think. Hopefully we don't hit the all red hand with it, but if we don't, then we're still in pretty. I mean, we're still in pretty good shape even with Traverse, right? Right. This is a lot of Transcend cards. So we're still probably not giving Traverse here. So we'll just see what they do. Probably just looking to double Transcend, put one of the Transcends on the bottom, and hope we draw into a real card. All right, 1-card 5 here is not that bad, though. I think that's pretty. Or I guess it's 1-card 6 with the Valiant Dynamos, right? All right, let's. I think we're going to actually preserve and then hold on to the Stir. So let's preserve a Chase back in the deck just so we have an extra threat. Then we'll sink a Chi here. I think we're still sinking a Chi as opposed to Underwinds because we're still going to like Arsenal this. So I think this is just a 1-cost. Or I guess we can also get the Key Unleashed here. So we do 2/1/4, pitch Chi, get Key Unleashed, have Stir the Pot for next turn. I think we're still in okay shape here. Yeah, so we're gonna finish on Tiger, which will get the Shuko buff, and then Key Unleashed, which will get +4 for 7. Have Stir the Pot in Arsenal, which is always nice. And we finally started kind of hitting our stride, I think, with the Transcend. I guess this gets +2 from the Kakara, right? So an extra point of value there is also quite nice. The only unfortunate thing about like drawing this many Transcends is that like it's definitely not ideal to like draw this many Transcends, I think. But at least we are guaranteeing we're going to be transcending for the rest of the game, which is quite nice. All right, the armor is also pierced at this point, which is great. And then this is just going to be a chase turn, so no reason to think about it too hard. I think we're just no blocking this. Right, there's Long Whisker, which is a-okay, so buffing, sure. Another dagger, also fine. All right, Fire and Brimstone definitely a little bit scary. So that's a little spooky. But we're still just going to try to kill them next turn, I think. I don't think they can still kill us at this point. All right, Long Whisker again. So you're going to do all the modes, but the additional attack mode doesn't really matter. I think we might just need to use some armor here just to have a life buffer, because we're not actually like guaranteed to get value out of it, whereas this is like kind of guaranteed value. I don't like throwing Traverse in front of this, especially when we already have Transcends, but we're kind of at the point where we're dying, and I want to have a little bit of life buffer just so they don't like kill us out of nowhere. All right, so we're definitely YOLOing the Harmony here. So we hit another Harmony, the classic. Right, gain a resource, and then still just getting Chase the Tail, right? We'll just Kakara as well, and then Arsenal Path, I guess. This might not be good enough. It's probably good enough to strip a lot, like a couple cards out of hand, but it's maybe not all the cards, which is probably what we need. We do get Path, which is nice. So we're not dead right away. We also have 2 flicks left. This game is definitely getting interesting, though. Especially with like how late our Transcend was. All right, go ahead and grab Chase. I'm wondering if there are any like micro decisions this game that we could have made, but it didn't really feel like it felt like we're kind of just sending damage at each other. Like, I don't think there's really a ton that we could have done like too differently this game. All right, play out the aspect, so we'll get 4 and then another 3 on this. So 4, 4, 3. Force at least 1 card out of hand, I think. And Dynamos, of course. So they need at least 1 3 block from hand, which is definitely sometimes a little bit challenging for Fang. All right, they are going to give us some blocks early. That's good. So we still, I think, demand 1 more card. Yeah, or no, they can use armor. Yeah. Armor is definitely a problem. So you just give us like 1 armor here. Oh, they're going to give us a card. Thank God. Whew. Okay. I think if they didn't give us a card, we were maybe in a little bit of trouble. But now I think we might have just barely clinched this. All right, Banachi, Bristle that. Oath. Oh, his hand's like not very good. What is our play then? We can like Wind Chakra, give the aspect go again. What is the play? We can sound into give it go. Wait, sound, give it go again, aspect, play the tiger, which does nothing, and then sound again. I guess that works, right? It's not good, but it's funny. It probably does do the trick. Because they're not gonna get a dynamo here, so they're functionally still at 3. I think that's the play. Feels really weird. Flick do we want on top? How many cards? They have the blue tip off. They have 2 2 blocks, a 3 block, and a 4 block. Let's not use the sound the alarm in case we want to sound the alarm again. Let's pass here. They shelter. We go again. And we aspect. We also do 3, 2, 1. So they have 2 blocks in hand and then a Hunt's End. So it's tip off, Hunt's End, and then what is the other card? The Scar. So what's better here? I mean, it has to just be sending the sound the alarm, right? All right, so they block with Hunt's End. They have tip off and then another card in hand. So I think they don't die is the problem. So they block with Hunt's End. They have Scar Tissue. They double block this, and then they lose all their fealty, I guess. Yeah, I guess they have to, right? And then we just don't tutor a flick. I think I was maybe overthinking this, but they don't die right away, but we should be able to, like, basically just kill them from this point. It's definitely been a very close game, especially with how late we were kind of transcending. All right, I think this will basically get the job done. So we go to 1 here, hold on to the flick. And then fealties, unfortunately, go away. All right, 1, 2, 1, 4. Probably is way too annoying to block. We need to react here. specifically as last card. It has to be 4-block react. So that all you got doesn't even do it because we're not theoretically threatening another turn unless they like full. They have to have a 4-block here. So you don't have 4-block, it doesn't matter. Oh, okay, we got that game. All right. So Fang definitely has gotten a lot scarier, especially if like they draw hot early and you do not draw hot early. And I feel like they definitely have a lot more they have a lot more like hits in the deck to basically like turn them online, whereas we have like a lot less like things that turn on like Traverse and like Archie and stuff. But I think that's kind of like the macro strategy for Fang is you just in general want to transcend as often as you can into them and like space out your transcends basically so that you're transcending every turn as opposed to like just transcend like double transcending and then hoping to redraw into it later, I think. That's at least my kind of observation of the matchup, and I definitely think that it gets a little bit dicey sometimes when you like run out of combo cards, like we kind of did there. We like ran out of our Mullen keys, ran out of chases, kind of. We also ran out of like the breed, so it could definitely be like a very dicey matchup if they are drawing like pretty hot and you're just like kind of waffling, especially in the early game. All right, I think that's probably gonna wrap it up for today. So we got some pretty good matchups, and yeah, I think I'm starting to get to a point where I'm happy with this deck and happy with my kind of other deck that I'm working on. I think that like the sideboard I try to keep relatively up to date, but again, it's kind of hard to work on 2 sideboards at once. Yeah, but anyways, I think I'm kind of sold on not having the quick dodge because I think it's just like I don't know. I feel like I'd rather just have AB and Aurora like half the time anyways, just for like a safety valve into like Sigil. And I think you can kind of like play around it pretty easily. Like I don't know if like quick dodge really gives you the consistency you necessarily need against Aurora that like AB would give you. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.